Last week, FBI agents showed up at political operative Roger Stone's door with an arrest warrant. It was the culmination of months of work by the Mueller team and speculation raised by Stone that he would be caught up in the probe, which he stated frequently in interviews, including right here on Rising.
So to start with, last time that we spoke with you, you said you did not rule out being indicted yourself. Do you still think that that's a possibility?
Well, I think it's entirely possible that I could be framed.
So Stone pleaded guilty, not guilty rather, to the 7 charges against him, including witness tampering and obstruction of justice. He is currently out on $250,000 of bail, and he joins us now live in studio. Thanks for being with us, sir.
Just to be clear, I'm out on $250,000 surety bond, which is where I put up no money but sign my name, which is what's happened when you're not considered a flight risk by the court.
Thank you for that clarification. So you said there in that clip that you may get caught up in this if you are framed. Do you believe that you've been framed?
Yes, absolutely. What's the underlying crime? Where's the Russian collusion? Where is the collaboration with WikiLeaks? Where is the conspiracy? Where's any evidence that I received stolen material? Where's any evidence that I knew about the source or content of the WikiLeaks material, either stolen emails, allegedly stolen emails, or allegedly hacked emails? None of that is involved in this indictment. These are all crimes that allegedly took place after the election, and they're all process crimes. They're all non-violent process crimes, which is why I was pretty shocked when 29 flak-jacketed FBI agents surrounded my home, 17 vehicles in the front yard, including 2 armored vehicles. I live on a canal, 2 amphibious units at the back of the house, 29 individual agents wearing night vision goggles, carrying assault rifles. You know, I don't own a firearm, although I'm a strong supporter of the Second Amendment. There are no guns in my home. I don't have a valid passport, so I couldn't leave if I wanted to. Thanks to the folks at CNN and MSNBC, my face is pretty recognizable now. I'm not a flight risk, and the idea that I would destroy evidence after being under investigation for 2 years is ludicrous. By the way, I've destroyed nothing. So this was meant to poison the jury pool.
Well, so what about the specific charges? What would you say at this point? They're coming after you for, they say, witness tampering. They're coming after you for, they say, lying. Did you misremember? I mean, is part of your defense going to be that that you had essentially an accident of memory with some of these issues? Or do you believe that you told them the truth and they're just not accurately relaying this?
My defense is that to the extent that I did not remember things, they're both immaterial and there's no intent. And they don't hide any underlying crime. 4.5 hours of voluntary testimony. Any mistake I made was an honest and inadvertent mistake of memory. Yes, they're right. I forgot the existence of text messages which are entirely exculpatory and prove that what I told the committee was accurate regarding my source on the content and the significance of the WikiLeaks material.
Is it your plan right now to fight this all the way to the end, or do you think that you'll be forced into a plea deal because of the weight of the charges?
It's a financial question. I'm not a wealthy man. You can go online and see stories that say I'm worth between $10 and $20 million. That's a joke. I'm essentially broke because the leaking over the last 2 years by the special counsel's office has destroyed my personal business. The censorship of my show on InfoWars, where I do a syndicated radio show every day, and on Facebook has made my book sales very difficult. I'm a New York Times best-selling author. I've written 5 books, 2 of them bestsellers, but it's made book sales very difficult. So I had to set up a legal defense fund at stonedefensefund.com. It depends on my ability to raise the money. Lawyers are expensive. The government has unlimited taxpayer funds, a platoon of Ivy League prosecutors. 2 of the prosecutors on the team prosecuting me worked for Hillary Clinton. I'm being persecuted because I supported Donald Trump for president and I opposed Hillary Clinton, and I was pretty effective.
So just to be clear, part of your decision of how you proceed, how you go forward, whether you fight this to the end in Buck's words or not, is a financial decision, whether you're able through the legal defense fund to raise the money?
I intend to fight the charges either way. I'm not going to plead guilty, nor am I going to make up stories about others. I will testify completely truthfully. When I said that on ABC, they said, oh, well, Stone has said he would cooperate with the special counsel. Well, cooperate in the sense that I will tell the truth. But I'm not going to bear false witness against anybody, including the president. I don't know of anything the president's done wrong. I'm not going to testify against the president because I would have to perjure myself to do so, and I'm not going to do that. I am not Michael Cohen.
So let me ask you about some of the texts and emails that are in the indictment. There's one from 11/19/2017 when you're going back and forth with one of the other individuals who are mentioned in the indictment. And he's getting nervous because his lawyer wants to see him regarding these allegations. And you wrote back to him, allegedly in the indictment, "Stonewall it, plead the fifth, anything to save the plan, ... Richard Nixon."
Yes,
what does that mean?
it's a joke. If you saw the previous text message, you would see that he's concerned about the fact that he's a progressive, he's a liberal, and he doesn't want to be seen as helping me. And he can't decide whether to testify. You'll all see also later that he decides to take the fifth on the advice of his attorneys, not something I said to him. There's also case law that says urging someone to plead the fifth cannot be construed.
Yeah, I was going to say, how is that subordinate perjury?
What's the plan? What is
That's
the plan?
a direct quote from Nixon. It came out of the Watergate tapes.
Wait, what are you referring to there?
You'd have to ask Richard Nixon, and he's not with us. It's a famous quote.
So you're saying it's a joke?
Yes, it's a famous quote.
So the special counsel, with all their resources and all this time and everything, is trying to hit you with at least one federal felony for making a joke via text message.
Correct.
Well, for lying about, for encouraging this individual to not tell the truth, and then lying about having relevant text messages and
actually,
emails.
if you had seen all of this, I tell him to tell the truth constantly. Here's the point. I'm very angry at this witness, Randy Credico. I'm angry at him not because he's telling the truth. I'm angry at him because he's lying. He went on MSNBC with the non-journalist, former John Kerry aide Ari Melber, repeatedly denying he was my source. Denied it, denied it, denied it. I released 30 pages of text messages proving he is my source. My anger at Mr. Credico was because he was lying, not because he was telling the truth. I wanted him to tell the truth.
When did you first find out that there was this possibility of Hillary Clinton, or rather of the DNC and Podesta's emails getting accessed by WikiLeaks? When did that happen?
When they published them.
You had no advance warning, no advance knowledge whatsoever.
None whatsoever.
And yet there seems to be a lot of reporting suggesting that people think that somehow
That's a suggestion,
this proves that you do.
Just to point out, my text of August 21st comes after the New York Post published a monograph by Peter Schweitzer entitled "From Russia with Money" that outlined the lucrative business dealings among Russian oligarchs and the Podesta brothers in uranium, gas, aluminum, and banking.
He's the Clinton cash author.
Correct.
Too. Yes.
Correct. And then on the 14th of August, there's an article, again in Breitbart, by Schweitzer, about the fact that Tony Podesta has represented the same political party as Paul Manafort. My tweet of the 21st, "The Podesta's time in the barrel," refers to the fact that that information will be made public. There's no controversy regarding my tweet for 6 weeks until then. WikiLeaks publishes the Podesta emails. To be clear, I had no advance notice and no one told me that his emails had allegedly been boosted, and there's no evidence to the contrary, none whatsoever.
For people who have never had any interaction with the criminal justice system, particularly at the federal level, what would you want people to know about what it's like to be in the crosshairs of the special counsel investigation? What has that done? What has it put you through? And now that you face possible federal prison time, what goes through your mind?
Well, I mean, they have enormous resources, and they have unlimited resources. They can have the FBI raid your home as if you're El Chapo. I mean, we had fewer men guarding our consulate in Benghazi than stormed my home, and they can leak. But you know, presumably there'll be some effort to gag me. I don't know that yet, but I presume it, even though I make my living writing and talking about politics. But they say they don't leak, but they do leak. I think we're going to learn a lot more about what CNN knew and why they were in my front yard, 25 yards from my, not even 25 yards, 25 feet from my front door. The street was sealed off. If I was, and it's a dead end street. If I was potentially dangerous, which is the only reason you would raid my house like this if I was, why were they not removed? Why were they left there if they arrived before the FBI? They claim it was just a hunch. I doubt that. I hope Senator Graham gets to the bottom of it. You said in another interview that the Mueller probe is a speeding bullet heading for the president's head. Yes, I don't think this is about Roger Stone. I think this is about finding some essence of some allegation of Russian collusion to void the 2016 election so that both President Trump and Vice President Pence can be removed, making Nancy Pelosi president. That would create a vacancy in the vice presidency, which she, of course, could then appoint Hillary Clinton to. Then she could resign and Hillary could become president. Perhaps that's what they have in mind, or maybe Nancy Pelosi would just remain as president. But I
do
think,
you believe that's a real danger, though? I mean, Republicans have really stood by, especially in this area. They have very closely stood by the president. There haven't been many fissures there. Do you think that that is a realistic possibility?
I saw the hysteria whipped up in this country about Brett Kavanaugh, who was confirmed by one vote. He did nothing whatsoever wrong. Nothing was proved against him. By the way, are those women who came forward and testified under oath about these awful things he did, who now admit they were lying, are any of them being prosecuted for perjury before Congress? No. Mr. Comey, Mr. Brennan, Mr. McCabe, Mr. Clapper, General Clapper, Hillary Clinton themselves all lied under oath to the Congress on consequential matters, matters that were material. Will any of them be prosecuted?
Clear, you think the president's impeachment is a real possibility and that the Mueller probe poses a real danger to this presidency?
I think this is a partisan effort to remove the president, and I think that the House Democrats would vote articles of impeachment if Donald Trump wore the wrong colored tie one morning.
Right, but the question is the Senate Republicans.
If you have the kind of hysteria whipped into the country that you saw in the Kavanaugh period, 2/3 is a high bar. I admit that. But I still think that there will be an attempt. And I do think when the lights are off, that the Republican establishment is no fonder of this president, the Democratic establishment, because he challenges the status quo, because he does things his own way. And we're seeing the results in our economic results, in our canceling the Iran nuclear deal, which was just shoveling money to people who cannot be trusted.
Roger, I think, Crystal, you have something else?
When you say that you're not Michael Cohen, what do you mean by that?
It means that I will not make up stories and say things that are false about the President of the United States, that I will not bear false witness against him. When I said some months ago that I wouldn't testify against the president, they said, you see, it's a cover-up. Stone is covering up stuff that the president... No, that's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is I will not make up stories about the president. I will not bear false witness against the president or anyone else.
One thing I wanted to ask you about, Roger, and then we'll let you go because I know you got a lot going on, but you've known Donald Trump for 40 years, for a long time.
40 years.
Talk to me about how long have you been talking to him about running for president? What convinced him to jump in this time? What's that dynamic been like over the years?
I first suggested that he should run for president in 1988, then again in 2000, then again in 2012, and then finally in 2016. I go back to an interview he gave to Oprah Winfrey some 20 years ago when she said, well, what about you, Donald? Would you ever run for president? Would you ever run for public office? Would you ever run for president? He said, no, I don't think so, unless things get so bad that I have no choice. And that's where we were in 2016. And you see the coming results. Now the Federal Reserve is trying to staunch the economy to build the backdrop for impeachment. I saw this movie before in 1974. It's what they did to Nixon. But we have an incredible economic story to tell. The comeback is extraordinary. I always believed that he had the stature and the guts and the vision to do this.
Was there a particular deciding factor?
I think that he just got to the point where he had climbed every mountain he wanted to climb in the real estate business. He was a household name because of The Apprentice, which was an enormously successful television show. And he didn't like seeing what was happening to the country. He's a patriot. He hated to see the decline of America. This presidency is costing him money. And he is subject to the worst vituperation and hate I've ever seen. So I don't think he ran for president to be somebody. He ran for president to do something.
Roger, real quick, I know we should let you go. Are you going to be the first person who stares down the special counsel and wins?
I intend to fight to win. I hope to be acquitted and vindicated. I just need people's help at stonedefensefund.com.